Everyone can take their seats, please. We're going to start the regular meeting. We're going to open the meeting with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Heard the motion, Council Gould.
Mr. President, on the motion, there's a late communication on the desk. It's a correction to the record, so if we could just, if the motion could be to approval of the record as...
I can hear you, Council. Speak up a little bit for me, please.
Sorry, Mr. President. If the motion could be approval of the record as amended by the late communication that we all have on our desk.
You've heard the motion, void communication. All in favor, any opposed, to vote. This meeting is being televised live on cable channel 9 and being taped by our Peabody Access TV and also being recorded by our City Council stenographer. And we'll go right into special hearings. We already got approval of the record. It's going to be 4A. Special permit 4A. Nacimiento Santos, 36 Tremont Street, to operate a barber shop. This is continued for January 8th. If the petitioner come up, state your name, address, and tell us what you'd like to do, please. The city clerk will read the public notice first.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on June 22, 2017 at 7:30 p.m. in the Franklin Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. on the application from Nacimiento Santos, 36 Oak Street, Peabody, Mass. for a special permit to operate a barber shop at 36 Tremont Street, Peabody, Mass. as filed in accordance with sections 1.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Joel D. Sasla, City Council President.
Good evening. If you could just state your name and your address for the record and tell us what you'd like to do, please.
My name is Nacimiento dos Santos.
I'm just going to ask you to speak right into the microphone so everyone can hear you, please.
My name is Nacimiento dos Santos. As me need to open this barber shop, the 36 Tremont Street, Peabody.
So my name is Nacimiento, and I would like to open a barber shop at 36 Tremont Street.
You're the interpreter, I assume? Okay,
Yes,
very good, thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Is anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the petitioner? Anybody like to speak in opposition to the petitioner? Anyone like to speak in favor? Anybody like to speak in favor? You go right ahead.
My name is Frances Martinez. I am the President CEO of the North Shore Latino Business Association. I'm in favor of him opening this business in the city of Peabody.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in favor? Being none, Councilman Sulis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, that's pretty self-explanatory. Let me tell you where that location is. It's on the corner of Northern Street and Tremont Street, and it's across the street from the Luso American, the Portuguese Bank. And previous to what they're looking for right now was Maria's Hair Salon. I think she retired and moved on. And previous to that, for about 50 years, it was Drevis's Variety Store. So it's always been a non-conforming use. There was always something there. And I'll tell you, I don't have a problem with it. And Mr. Chairman, just to show the people out here what we're like on this city council, this gentleman is going to be my opposition. I mean, I have a barber shop at the other end of the street, and not only is he going to be my opposition, I got him an interpreter, and I am also going to support him and wish him luck. So I guess I've said my piece, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sulis. Any other councilors? Councilman Sulis?
Yeah, motion to close the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote? Councilman Sulis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve a special permit for Nacimiento Santos at 36 Tremont Street for the purpose of opening a barber shop. And, Mr. Chairman, he told me his hours would be Monday to Friday, 9 to 7, is that what it was? Well, they're in the application anyways, Mr. Chairman, and Saturday from 9 to 7, I'm sure. So moved, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Manning Martin.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 10 to nothing, one absent.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up on the agenda, item 4B, entertainment license. For the city clerk, please read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franklin Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from the Azorian Brotherhood of the Divine Holy Ghost, Inc., 20 Harley Street, Peabody, Mass., to amend their current entertainment license to allow for live entertainment outdoors in their outdoor dining area for the following dates only at said 20 Harley Street, Peabody, Mass. Friday, July 14th, Saturday, July 15th, and Sunday, July 16th, 2017. Peabody City Council Councilor Joel D. Sasslaw, City Council President.
Thank you. And is someone from the Holy Ghost here who'd like to represent? Could you state your name and your address for the record, and
Hi.
tell us any more that you'd like to say that hasn't been said?
Hi, good evening. My name is Jose Mario Pinto. I live on 11 Kingston Street. This is an event that we've been holding for a few years now. I can't tell you exactly how many. Council McGinnis, Council Thomas, and Council Mitsoulas, they very familiar with it. I think we've been holding the thing very professional, and neighbors have been pleasing us for the job that we've been doing around. So I asked the council to please allow us. Thomas Gould is one of the main bosses around here, and he knows what's going on. So whatever you guys can do, we appreciate, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Council McGinn. Excuse me, anybody like to speak in opposition? Anybody like to speak in opposition? Anybody like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Anybody like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Being none, Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Mr. Pinto said, this is an event that's an annual event. It's a great event. It's been going on for many years. I support it. There are a couple of conditions that we've had on the last 3 years, I think, that have worked out well in terms of addressing any of the area concerns, and those have been fine, and Mr. Pinto is fully agreeable to continue with those. So if other councilors want to comment, I'd...
Thank you, Council McGinn. Any other councilors like to comment? Councilman Mitsoulas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very much in favor myself, and the Azorian Brotherhood has been nothing but a credit to the city of Peabody and to Mr. McGinn's ward. They were in my ward once I missed them, so, you know, Peter took them from me, so moved.
Thank you, Councilman Mitsoulas. Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. Mario, keep up the good work.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you, Council Gould. Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing.
You've heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to approve the application from the Azorian Brotherhood of the Divine Holy Ghost, Incorporated, 20 Harley Street, Peabody, Mass., to amend their current entertainment license to allow for live entertainment outdoors in their outdoor dining area for the following dates only at said 20 Harley Street, Peabody, Mass., Friday, July 14th, Saturday, July 15th, and Sunday, July 16th, 2017, with the following conditions. that Mr. Pinto and Mr. Holman make themselves known to the Peabody Police Detail officer as a point of contact for the Holy Ghost should any issues arise, and that they, as representatives of the Brotherhood, they will address any such complaint in a timely fashion, that the stage be oriented in such a way and that the volume be set up to minimize noise impact on any residential and business neighbors. And number 3, that all entertainment shall promptly cease at the hours specified in said license, 11:30 p.m. on July 15th and 16th, and 10 p.m. on Sunday, July 17th. And number 4, that a permit be obtained from the Peabody Fire Department for any open burning or fire pit. And number 5, that the property owner must provide adequate number of covered receptacles to allow for the storage of garbage and rubbish in a manner so as not to attract pests or create nuisances for abutters. So moved.
Roll call vote on the motion, please.
Councilors Manning Martin.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Chara.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Congratulations. Have a nice event.
Thank you very much, and you all invited. There's a couple new faces on the board that are also invited, so you can better know what's going on. And the requests will be taken care the best of our ability. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you.
Item 4C, special permit, Marcos Herrero, DBAK speaker repair, 25C Walnut Street, regarding the allow for repair and reinstallation of speakers and automobiles as an accessory use. City Clerk, please read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. on the application for Marcos Hierro, DBA Case Speaker Repair, 25C Walnut Street, Peabody, Mass. for a special permit to allow for the repairing and reinstallation of speakers and automobiles as an accessory use to said business located at 25C Walnut Street, Peabody, Mass. as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Joel T. Sasla, City Council President.
The petitioner, please state your name and address and tell us what you'd like to do.
Good evening, Council. I am Joel Whitman. Many of you know me from other activities in the city. I'm here as the owner of 15 and 25 Walnut Street. The Hierros are my tenant. They've been there for a couple of months. They are running a speaker shop, selling and repairing speakers. It appears that one of the things they want to do is from time to time to repair speakers in automobiles, although that's not really the major part of their business. The zoning, for some reason, prohibits the sale of automobile accessories, and so we're here to ask your support to allow them this small part of their business. Marcos and Wendy are here, and hopefully if you have questions, between the three of us, we'll answer them.
Thank you very much. Anybody like to speak in favor of the petitioner?
I am Frances Martinez, President and CEO of the North Shore Latino Business Association. Mr. Hierro and his wife are members, active members of the Business Association, and we're here in favor for them to open their business here.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in favor of the petitioner?
That's Wendy over there, the wife of Marcos. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Marcos's English isn't so great, but Wendy's is as good as mine, and if you have questions, she'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Anyone like to speak in opposition to the petitioner? Anybody like to speak in opposition to the petitioner? Being none, Councilman Mitsoulas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joel, if I knew you were going to be speaking, I wouldn't have asked her to be the interpreter, so sorry if I cut you out. Mr. Chairman, this is also, to me, it's a no-brainer. I remember years ago, I think they were repairing lawnmowers in there years ago. Am I correct, Joel, or if I get the wrong? Were they repairing years ago lawnmowers at that site?
No, that was somebody else. No,
Next
these
door.
are new. The fellow with the lawnmowers hasn't been there for many, many years.
Oh, well, that's what I remember from many years
That was
ago.
Hinchman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I'm going back that far with where that kind of a use has been there forever. And I don't see much of a difference in the use with the speakers, repairing speakers in there also. To me, it's the same thing. It's an approved use, and I got a late communication from the planning board, which really doesn't have a problem with fixing what you were saying out the speakers in the cars. So to myself, I don't have a problem with this. I'll turn it over to the councilors and see if
Councilman
anyone has
McGinn,
anything to
Move
say.
to receive late communication.
Yeah, motion received late communication, Mr.
Is there a
Chairman,
motion
from the
opposed?
planning board.
Let's vote. Any other councils? Councilman Sulis?
Motion to close the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Turco?
Sorry, Mr. President, did we receive the late communication?
We did, we just did.
Okay.
Thank you. The motion to close the public hearing, all in favor and opposed to vote. Councilman Sulis?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve special permit for Marcos Herio doing business as K Speaker Repair at 25C Walnut Street for the purpose of allowing for the repair and reinstallation of speakers and automobiles as an accessory use. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Manning Martin.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gravel. Yes. Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0, one absent.
Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you all.
Next up, item 4D, special permit, Peterbilt LLC, 7 Rayland Ave, regarding expand the building envelope of a non-conforming building in use at 168 to 172 Washington Street. Will the city clerk please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franco Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., on the application from Peterbilt LLC, 7 Rayland Ave, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit to expand the building envelope of a non-conforming building and use at 168-172 Washington Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 1.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Joel D. Sasslaw, City Council President.
Thank you. Councilor?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Ethan Vonzalides. I'm an attorney practicing law at 246 Andover Street in Peabody, and I am here on behalf of the petitioner with respect to this evening's application. The petitioner's property is situated in the center of Quinlan Square, right at the corner of Washington Street and Swampscott Avenue. Directly across the street on Swampscott Ave is the Dunkin' Donuts, and directly across the street on Washington Street is the old Cablevision building, and next to that, I believe, is the Lions Auto Center. Parcel of land contains a little over 8,000 square feet of area. It can accommodate up to 22 parking spaces. It contains a 3.5-story building with 5 residential apartments for a total of 11 bedrooms. And in addition, the lower portion or the street level of the building, also a portion of it is used as commercial space, which was previously a hair salon. And as you can see from our site plan, that existing building was not constructed on the entire width of the foundation. And I think that most of the councilors already are pretty familiar with the property since it was subject to a drastic fire back on Christmas Day of last year. And as a result of that fire, the building has been condemned and has been ordered to be demolished. And the petitioner does have the right under our zoning ordinance to rebuild that structure exactly as it was originally constructed without council approval. However, to do so would result in a building that would not meet all of today's building codes and standards, especially fire safety. Some of the issues that we would be deficient in would be the size and the width and location of the hallways, the stair height and the width, the location and size of our egresses and our accesses, the fire suppression systems, the size of our door openings, and proper width of firewalls and other safety features. In order to construct the building so it will conform to all of our building code, or our current building code standards and our fire standards, we need to increase the building envelope. And in order to do that, he's going to construct the new building so that it encompasses the entire existing foundation rather than a portion of it as the existing building does. The end result is going to be a new building that will be a mixed-use building that will conform in all respects to our current building codes and fire safety regulations. I think it's important to note that we're only increasing the building envelope. We are not increasing the number of apartment units or the number of bedrooms. The building's still going to have 5 apartments with a maximum of 11 bedrooms, along with 1 commercial unit. There's going to be 1 apartment on the lower level or the street level, along with the commercial space that's used as a hair salon. There'll be 2 apartments on the 2nd floor and 2 apartments on the 3rd floor. Each apartment's going to have an average living area of about 1,000 square feet, and the height of the new building is going to be the exact same height as the existing building. Basically, obviously, the new building is going to be a significant improvement to the surrounding area, but I also believe it will improve the value of the properties of all the abutting owners. I do have the petition with me this evening, and together we'll try to answer any questions that either the council or the public may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone like to speak in opposition to the petitioner? Anybody like to speak in opposition to the petitioner? Anyone like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Mr. Medina?
Hi, my name is Richie Medina, 1B Laurel Street, and my only concern was when I read the notice, public notice, was the expansion of a non-conforming use, and I asked Councilor McGinn during the recess what exactly this entailed, and he explained it justly. So my concern is just that other people who have non-conforming use, if they see this hearing and the petitioner prevails, that they might say, we can expand on our non-conforming use. But I hope that isn't the case. So I know the bylaws, the ordinance, city ordinance restricts the envelope and the foundation, and I know state law also restricts it. But I'm always careful about coming to the council and making sure that if someone comes next week and I'm against it, that I'm here to voice my concern. So hopefully, good luck with this petition. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Being none, Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've heard Attorney Vonzolidis' description of what the petitioner intends to do here. I will tell you that I have had a number of people contact me with concerns about this application. Based on those various inputs and my additional information that I've gathered from some of the departments, in particular the building commissioner, I've got a number of conditions that I would like to support this, but I'm going to include a number of conditions that will address the concerns that have been raised. These have all been shared with the petitioner and his attorney, and they've reviewed it and they are agreeable. So at this point, I'd turn it over to other councilors.
Any other councilors? Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just through you to Mr. Medina, I think regarding your concerns, Richie, about other businesses coming forward, following suit, I think in this instance, it's a condemned building that, burned down with a fire. So I think it's a unique situation. So I appreciate your concerns, and I will keep an eye out for that in the future if people should come forward. But I see this as quite distinct. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Gravel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I happen to live down in this area pretty much all my life, except after we got married. I moved out of there in 1993. And you know, Jim likes to talk about what was the use of the old building. The Malias used to own that building, and that was where the cash market used to be. It was a pretty thriving little supermarket store that you used to go in and walk and get your mom would send you down for a pound of hamburger at 69 cents, and, you know, you'd have all the Malia guys in there serving you up. You know, for the longest time, it's had that hair salon there, Jane's, and it was just a shame when it burnt down, and it's left quite a mess on that corner, and it's not a really nice representation. The lot is a good-sized lot for that area in particular, because all the lots down there are small, and it has, you know, because of the I believe there was, it used to be a structure on the side that got removed. They were able to expand, the Malias were able to expand the parking there. And so I'm in support. I know what he's talking, I know the area he's talking about where the building is not built on the foundation itself. It could have been back in the day, but it didn't get built. So I understand the concern about, you know, maybe adding a little bit to that building, but I think it's probably a good thing, and we're going to end up with a building that looks representable for that neighborhood, because it's been a blight ever since that fire. It's just so awful to see that building sitting out there like that, all boarded up, and across the street from the ever vacant, you know, Public Works, the Waterworks building. It just, whatever we can do to help that piece of the neighborhood bring itself back, because it was, and in its day, back when I was a kid, it was a pretty grand neighborhood. Wasn't a lot of money there, but there was a lot of proud leather workers that were down there. And I'm glad to see somebody putting something into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Gravel. Council Begin.
Move to close the public hearing.
You've heard the motion. All in favor and opposed to vote?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to approve the application for Peterbilt LLC 7 Raylan Ave, Peabody, Mass. For the special permit to expand the building envelope of a non-conforming building and use at 168 172 Washington Street, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with sections 1.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance with the following conditions. Number one, there should be a single structure on the lot. There should be a maximum total of one dwelling unit on the first level of the structure. The Washington Street facing portion of the first level of the structure shall be utilized for a business use permitted in the BN zoning district. There should be a maximum total of 2 dwelling units on the second floor of the structure and a maximum total of 2 dwelling units on the third floor of the structure. There shall be no dwelling units in the basement level of the structure. Number two, the expansion of the building envelope is strictly to accommodate current building code requirements for means of egress, hallways, stairs, secondary access, door openings. Such expansion shall not exceed the area of the current foundation and shall not increase the height of the structure. Number three, petitioners shall make reasonable commercial effort to maintain all dwelling units as market-rate apartments or condominiums. Number four, all residential and commercial parking, and business use parking shall be maintained on the adjacent lot, Assessors Map ID 94-056. Any pickup or delivery of supplies associated with the business use in the structure shall be accommodated in the same adjacent lot. Provided parking space size requirements of zoning are satisfied and no vehicle shall interfere with any sidewalk, a maximum of 2 parking spaces may be available accessed by a curb cut on Swampscott Avenue. Number 5, no apparatus, including but not limited to antennas, satellite receiving device, shall be placed on any roof or any facade of the structure where visible from Washington Street, Foster Street, or Swampscott Avenue. Number 6, no window air conditioning as a similar apparatus shall be installed in the windows of the structure. Number 7, any sign for the business use in the structure shall comply with zoning ordinance of the City of Peabody. Number 8, all trash and recycling shall be contained in such that it is not visible from the street and adequately screened such that it is not visible to abutters, and such trash and recycling storage locations shall be indicated on the final version of the site plan and shall be approved by the Construction Review Committee and Planning Board as a function of site plan review. Number 9, trash and recycling materials shall be removed by a private trash removal service, and no municipal trash pickup shall be provided. For the avoidance of doubt, trash collection shall be in accordance with the City of Peabody, with the ordinance of the City of Peabody, and no trash or refuse or recycling containers collection shall occur between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. any day of the week. Number 10, construction hours of operation shall be from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday. Number 11, construction equipment, construction supplies, demolition equipment, and dumpsters shall utilize for demolition and construction shall be stored to minimize disruption to abutters. Number 12, the project shall be subject to site plan review and approved by the Construction Review Committee and Planning Board in accordance with the provisions of Section 12 of the City of Peabody zoning ordinance. And number 13, alleged violation of special permit conditions may result in a show cause hearing at the City Council. So moved.
Thank you, Council McGinn. Any discussion on the motion made? I have one. I'm sorry, Council Jurist, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. McGinn. The other week we had a memo in front of us about construction hours. I believe on Saturdays it was moved to 9. I know we didn't vote on that ordinance.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, through you to Councilor Charis. I took these hours directly from that session. Did we amend those, Councilor Turco?
Mr. President, through you to Councilman McGinn, no, you have them exactly as they were written, so thank you.
That was my attempt to align them with what...
So that's, I'm sorry, through the chair. So that is the new hours that we were speaking about? 7 in the morning?
Mr. President, through you to Councilor Trust, yes, those are exactly what we discussed at last week's meeting for hours of operation with no construction on Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
So my only, any other councilors? My only question of the petition, I did notice one of the restrictions is no air conditioners. Is the building going to be built with air conditioning? Because on hot summer nights like tonight, I'm a little bit concerned.
Yeah. Each unit's going to have its own individual heating air conditioning unit inside the unit.
That's great news. Any other councilors? There being none, roll call vote.
Councilors Manning Martin.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gravel. Yes. Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Congratulations.
Mr. President,
Council McGinn.
yeah, related to this matter, in the package is item 8J, which is a transfer of a prior special permit. We don't actually need to receive this because we received it as item 8H on May 25th. But I would like to make a
Item 8J.
8J in everybody's package.
And this is just all papers being ordered, Council?
No, this is a transfer that allowed for the number of units that never took place. So this is kind of an after-the-fact situation. So I want to correct that so that it's in harmony with the special permit that we have just granted. So if I could, I'd like to make a motion to approve the transfer of special permit number 4 dated February 20th, 2001, related to map 94, lot 55, to Peterbilt LLC, Peter Castrini of 7 Raylan Ave, Peabody, Mass. 01960, and that such transfer of special permit be subject to all conditions set forth in the special permits granted by the City Council on June 22nd, 2017. So moved.
You've heard the motion of special transfer. Any questions on the motion? There being none, roll call vote.
Councilors Manning Martin.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yeah.
Charist.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you. Next up, item 4E, special permit hearing. Pulaski Acquisition LLC, 9 Broadway Street, Wakefield, regarding allow for storage, warehouse, wholesaling, contractor shop, and transit terminal at 23 Old Colony Road, assessors map 53, parcel 82, Will the city clerk please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franklin Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from Pulaski Acquisition LLC, 9 Broadway Street, Wakefield, Mass. For a special permit to allow for storage, warehouse, wholesaling, contractor shopping, and transit terminal at 23 Old County Road, Assessors Map 53, Parcel 82, Peabody, Mass. As filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council. Councilor Joel D. Sasslaw, City Council President.
Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the City Council, City of Peabody, my name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. Practice law at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I appear this evening on behalf of Pulaski Acquisition LLC. They are of 9 Broadway Street in Wakefield, Massachusetts. Raymond Felidi, who is here this evening, is the manager of that. With Raymond, with Raymond this evening is Alex Martins, who has been a longtime property manager in the Pulaski Street area, and I believe he is also a Ward 3 resident. This building is the former Chelsea Industries. It is on 4 or 5 acres of land. It's almost 170,000 square feet, the building itself. It had been Webster Industries. It had been Chelsea Industries. Over the course of a period of years, utilization of the building by a single user became more and more impractical. Companies of that size either became bigger and moved elsewhere, or went out of business and became smaller. Our proposal, my client's proposal, is to essentially subdivide the building itself into units. I've given you a list of the potential users that's attached to your special permit application, and the individual units would range in size from 15,000 square feet, 13, there's one that's 10, and then most of them are in the 6,000, 5,000, 3,500 square foot range. So depending on what the individual client's needs, that space can be built out for him. Currently, there's work going on at the building. There's an effort to bring it up to code. There's an effort to make it look much better, and we're also in the effort to build out spaces for people who have particular needs. I'm happy to answer questions. I know that there were some concerns with respect to whether or not this is the building that is deepest into 58 Pulaski Street, that roadway. It's the last building on the left. It's only a movie. And as such, there's over hundreds of parking spaces. We have no reason, no need to use that back street, North Central Street. We would agree to a condition that said that we can make no use of the North Central Street access. We are also not making any use of the railroad bed that's there, and as such, we would agree that there be no deliveries by rail. And if there are other conditions that the council would have us consider, we've said on our application that our hours are intended to be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday. We will do our best to, Raymond is a quality builder developer, do our best to work with our neighborhood and address any needs, concerns that they have as they come up. Happy to answer questions, Alex, myself, or Raymond, that you may have.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Anybody like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Anyone like to speak in opposition of the petitioner? Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Wells. I live at 22 Westview Circle in Peabody. My house abuts the roadhouse, and so I hear all the noise that comes from the industrial park. So one of my questions would be, if we're going to put in, I heard there would be at least 20 units in that building, what is the access point going to be for these businesses? They're all going to come down Pulaski Street to get through to this industrial building. We were just told that they would not be using the back roads. County Way is not even a way anymore. It's a groaning grassy field. And I just think that we have so many businesses there right now that have grown. 58 Pulaski Street, we've done a great job. We've put in antique businesses. They're not harmful to our neighborhood. It brings a nice crowd. But there are other places that are just not followed up regularly. We had a huge drug bust in the industrial park just this past week, and we're still having difficulties getting a hold of who is currently within the park and how we manage the traffic coming out one street and turning on Pulaski Street, either left or right. So if we put in potentially another 20 businesses or so, a transit company I noticed was listed here, how is this neighborhood going to handle this traffic? We just spoke earlier about how you were concerned about the neighbors of Centennial Park having to deal with a marijuana dispensary, but we're just as important on Pulaski Street, and we did have the buses. I know a lot of you weren't here for that time period. We put up with that for a long time, and it was a fight to get them out, and I just don't think that park is really regulated enough now with the number of tenants that are in there now. I would say there's easily over 50 tenants within that park and one access road, and it comes out to a small road, which is Pulaski Street, which is smaller than Lowell Street, smaller than 114. So I ask you all to consider us and consider our needs and realize that this would not be the best use for this property at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition to the petitioner? State your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Yeah, my name's John Sermon, 53 Pulaski Street. You know, most of you see me speak here before, and he always says, you know, it's going to conform and, you know, address, you know, our needs as neighbors. Okay, I still got the original paperwork from, just like, I don't hate to bring it up, but you're going to hear it a million times. Wayside was only supposed to have storage containers. And you know what's going on there with Cisco trucks 24/7. He's not supposed to have tenants there. There's Cisco trucks, car carriers, 24/7, okay? And then I was very happy to have the gym across the street. But now I get people 5 in the morning slamming car doors, which I put up with. Then Cisco comes out. There's the car carriers 24/7. The roadhouse got broken into. The guy came into my house. My mother's over 90 years old. I was going to break the guy's neck. And he ran out of there. And the cops grabbed him. And he fought the cops outside. I don't need any more of this. And a drug bust over there. The place, some of it's good, some of it's very, it's not the way it's supposed to be. And they're going to rack up make that one building into other ones. Business is going to come and go in there, and down the road in a year or two, you know, oh, everything's going to be rosy. A year or two, it's going to be the same thing like Wayside. Out of control. And I'm sick of it. There's a neighborhood there, and people are sick of it. They're sick of even coming here. I don't even want to come here anymore. I want to live in peace. And, you know, I know it's an industrial park, but, you know, give us a break a little bit because it's way too much for that. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Being none, Councilman Tsoulis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm never happy when I have to talk about that neighborhood. But anyways, listen. I've got to call it the way I see it. I'm the representative of both sides, the neighborhood and the industrial park. But usually I favor the neighborhood. That's who I try to make sure they don't have any disruption in the neighborhood, any noise, too many cars, trucks going one way, whatever. I do whatever I can. Or the roadhouse being disruptive to the neighborhood. You know, I'm the one they call. So I'm the one that has to go up there and speak my piece. But sometimes you have to separate your friendships that you've made with what's the right thing to do and what's the right thing for the neighborhood and what's the right thing for the city. Okay? Now, I'm going to go back 20 years ago. Before that was called Chelsea Industries.
Chelsea
It was
most
called
recently,
it
Webster.
was it was called Webster Industries, and that's what I remember. And what Webster Industries was a plastic bag manufacturing company that was going 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 3 shifts, and employed 200 to 300 people. And the people it employed were the neighborhood people. As a matter of fact, John, I think you said one of them's from Paliloga Street that still works there. But anyways, it employed the neighborhood. And those were good times. Neighbors were making money, people were working, and the city was getting revenue from that building and that property and those 300 people that worked there. Today, we're looking at some hard times in this city. We just went through our budget. The mayor had to take money out of the reserve fund, and still we're going to raise your taxes a little bit. But let me tell you something. If he brings in the people that he is claiming he's going to, the new revenue we're going to see from this influx of revenue coming into the city, that just may be enough to offset raising our tax rate. This is the second industrial park in my ward that I fought for, okay? And I'm not fighting against my neighbors, trust me, because I love you guys and you know it, okay? There was a time when they didn't want anything to come into Webster Street. It was a fire site. Well, I brought the first business in there. Webster Street is flourishing today. It's paying taxes. It's putting people to work. It's putting neighborhood people to work. Isn't that why I'm on the city council? Isn't that why we are on the city council? To help make Peabody secure, to be solvent? And I don't think we're going to make them solvent if we make a decision that because it's going to add 10 more cars to the street, we're not going to allow 20 new businesses to come in. You know, I have to make a decision. What's right for the city? You know? John, I know that that the businesses that you are going to be bringing in are going to have to come before the city council eventually, the new ones. The new ones, as you keep
Any new
building.
one that requires a special permit would
Right.
need to get it. That's correct.
Right. So, yeah, you know, that is my take to the neighborhood. When they come before us, you know that you're going to be able to voice your opinion here and say, hey, okay, you know, maybe this isn't right. Maybe we could make some adjustments here, you know. But to say to a building that's almost 2 football fields wide and big that, hey, we're not going to let you do anything. You're going to stay empty and not pay taxes, and you're just going to sit there and let the building rot. I don't think I'd be doing justice for the neighborhood if I allowed that. You know, I just want you to know where I'm coming from. Because you're all my friends. But
May I add one more bit
yeah,
of
go ahead.
information?
Go ahead.
When Pulaski acquisition, they paid $6,600,000. So
I
this
was
is already,
I was going to get to that, John.
this is already on the books for quite a bit of money.
I was going to get to that. You know, I was going to get to that. Who had the courage to put that kind of money up? Who had the courage? This has been going on 25 years now. No one's come forward, not even to rent the place. You got someone that says, hey, I'm going to make an investment. I'm going to put hundreds of people to work. I'm going to help pay your taxes, give the city some revenue, and fix the building up, bring it up to code, and clean up that industrial park. I mean, that's a win-win for the city. Councilors, I'll let you ask whatever you want. So,
Mike, please, Counsel. Counsel Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Jim, for your perspective. Councilor Matsula, excuse me. Jack, can you please help me with what type of trucks will be going in and out of there?
We expect predominantly vans. There will be some cargo. There will be some, what do you call them, box trucks. Other tractor trailer?
There may be some, Raymond Filiti, manager of Pulaski LLC. Thank you very much, Council. Yeah, there'll be some trailers, not a lot of trailers, mostly straight trucks and vans. We've got a couple of, a plumbing contractor,
Daily vans.
Moving and storage, a couple of moving storage, and they're just straight jobs, you know, they're not the long tractor trailers. A few of them will have a couple of trailers, but none of these businesses that we're looking at here are all heavy trailers and heavy trucking in that capacity. Mostly it's moving and storage. They'll come in, store the furniture or whatever they're doing. Let's look at Mass Bay. They do restoration, so they store for 6 months to a year, and then they'll redeliver it back out to a client. So, and he's going to be a big user. So most of them are moving and storage, but not a lot of transit, daily, you know, turnover of freight, let's say. So.
How many tractor trailer trucks do you envision going in and out of there during the day?
I know that one group has 2 trailers, so I don't know of really any other of the other groups of any trailers that they have. They're mostly just vans or straight, you know, box trucks.
Attorney Kelty, can you guarantee us that there won't be any trucks going in and out of there prior to 7, going in there prior to 7 or coming out of there prior to 7 a.m. where they're, you know, disrupting the neighborhood, not coming in at 5 and waiting for 2 hours, sitting in their cab waiting? You can.
Yes. Because of the nature of this particular business. It's unlike a business that had been down there last summer, which was traveling to Philly, bringing things back, offloading it middle of the night, and then taking things to Boston before dawn.
Because these folks on Pulaski Street have been really, I'm all for what we've done down there, and I think it might have been Miss Wells said that there has been an improvement in a number of the buildings, but there's still a laissez-faire attitude about trucks going in and out of there, and I'd hate to have you guys back before us for a violation of the conditions that I hope Councilor Mitsoulas will put on it about the hours of operation. But the traffic pattern they'll come both ways on Pulaski Street.
Pardon?
The traffic pattern will bring them both ways on Pulaski Street in.
Yes.
Coming from either Danvers or, okay.
If I may, Counselor.
Yes.
Alex is staying on board with our group to manage the building, continue to manage. He's been managing for 30 years. Whatever is on these permits is what they will abide to, or they will be evicted from the property, because I realize it's a sensitive area. We will post those signs, and it will be in everybody's lease once we know what time they can start. And Alex will be working directly with he will be at the site.
Can you speak into the mic just for the stenographer?
Oh, I'm sorry. He will be on the property daily to monitor vehicles under our control, not in the industrial park, but under our control, and keep them in check so that there's no misuse of time and running. You might get one, maybe someone comes in late, you can one excuse, but we're going to keep a good eye on it. And he will be there to do that.
Counsel Gould, you still have the floor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The one thing you bring to the table is having Alex on board. You bring credibility, I must say. Alex has been on that site and is a community person. He lives in the Ward 3 neighborhood. Alex, the property manager, brings credibility to this whole thing. Lives down off Tremont Street, if I'm not incorrect. Paleologus, thank you, Alex. But again, my big concern is the blatant disregard for the trucking patterns that have gone, trucking traffic that has gone in and out of there in the past. So I wish you well. I think that those kind of businesses are what we need in that park, but we have to be very concerned about the traffic patterns and the regard for the hours of operation. Thank you.
Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, as far as the construction hours, could we just, Jim, if through to you, Councilor Mitsoulas, could we adjust those to what we had discussed for construction hours? That I don't believe that's official yet for another week, but if we could, in this packet, they asked for till 7 p.m. I'd like to abide by the construction hours that we had proposed last week, to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, rather than the 7 a.m. construction start time on Saturday morning, if we could do that. And the other thing I just wanted to point out is I see at least 4 different moving companies on this list. Jack, it's through you to Attorney Kelty. Are these companies definite for this property, 4 moving companies?
Yes.
Okay. So the issue I have with that is I have an older brother that's been in the moving business for 20 years. He strictly does evictions. And you have hours of operation for your businesses. It's 7 p.m. It's absolutely impossible for 4 moving companies to guarantee that they will not be loading and unloading and loading prior to 7 p.m. It's impossible. They do a move. They can't dictate how long that house may take to pack and load, and they get back to the properties at 7, 8 o'clock at night and continue to offload that property. This is 4 different moving companies, and I know 2 of them. I'm very familiar with 2 of them. So through you to Council Mitsoulas, Jim, I agree with you. It's that fine line that, supporting the neighborhood, but this isn't going to make anything better. I mean, if I understand this is a lot of money, it's a lot of investment for the city of Peabody, but I don't see that these businesses will make the life of these residents any better. So I wouldn't be able to support it, but thank you.
Any other councils? Councilor Mitsoulas.
Motion to close the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
You've heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? To vote? Councilor Mitsoulas.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a statement before I make my motion here.
Go ahead.
The gentleman's the owner, am I correct?
Raymond.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are the owner, am I
Yes.
correct? This is your investment, right? Am I correct? Okay. I am going to make a motion to approve, and I'm going to tell you I'm doing it only for the reasons I said when I was speaking. But I am going to put you on notice. If you don't live up to your promises, okay, you are going to have a lot of people against you, and you have too big an investment, to let that happen, all right? I'm going to make a motion to approve, and Tom, I want you to put the conditions that you want on this, your hours, okay? Just be my guest. And whatever condition you want to put on it, be my guest, okay? Going to make a motion to approve a special permit for Pulaski Acquisition LLC, -9, Broadway Street in Wakefield, for the purpose to allow for storage, wholesaling contractor shop and transit terminal at 23 Old Colony Road. So move. Put your conditions on, Tom, and I will back them, whatever you want.
Thank you, Counselor. I just want to make sure there's strict adherence to the 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and strict adherence to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. On hours of operation. So moved. I think that was in the hours of operation anyway, Tim, correct? Those were the hours of operation in the application.
They
right?
were.
Okay.
And just for the record, that's Old County Road, Old County Road. You've heard the Councilman again.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Gould, you missed the no Sunday portion of that, which I think you'd probably want to add to that
Yes,
condition.
please. Thank you, Counselor. And no hours of operation for Sunday strictly enforced. So moved. Thank you.
And Mr. President, I think Councilor Turco raised the matter of the construction hours of operation to be in accordance with 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday as a condition. Would that be agreeable, Councilor Gould?
Thank you.
Is that Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. start? No.
7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Councilor Turco?
Thank you, Mr. Jim. Just to clarify, through you to Councilor Kelty, we have two different sets of hours here. We have hours of operation and we have construction hours that we're discussing. So the construction hours will be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., no Sunday, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for construction.
You've heard Councilor Walsh. You've heard the motion, the restrictions. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Manning Martin.
I was wondering whose ward it was in there for a minute. That's
Andy,
right.
But I'm trying to please everybody,
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Okay. Yes, thank
Trying
you.
to be a Democrat.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
No.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Motion carries 9 to 1, 1 absent.
Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much.
At this point, I'm going to ask Councilor Garabedian to come up and run the meeting as I have special permit hearings in my ward.
What? I bought some goodies. There's pizza.
That's your ward, too.
Okay, item F, would the clerk please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., on the application from Louis Marinello, 9 Elizabeth Lane, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit to operate a motor vehicle wash and detailing facility at 182 Newberry Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Joel D. Sasslaw, City Council President.
Is anybody here that would like to speak in favor of the petition? Okay, want to state your name and address for the record?
My name is Louis Marinello at 9 Elizabeth Lane, Peabody, Mass. I'd be the owner, operator. We currently have a small detail facility in Danvers. We're looking to move to a location. Oh, I'm sorry. We're looking to move to a location with a little bit more frontage. It's me and my manager and assistant, Kyle. The building owner is here as well. He owns both pieces of properties that we're in, and we're looking to move up and be successful.
All right. Is anybody here like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Anyone like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Is there anybody here like to speak in opposition of the petitioner? Anybody in opposition to the petitioner? Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. So just so everyone has a reference point, this building is the building that is right after the Latitudes on Route 1 heading south. If you take a right at Pine Street, it's the building right there. I met with Mr. Marinello this past weekend to go over his business plan, and I think he's being a little shy, but he has a facility that he sells used vehicles, but they're pretty high-end vehicles, if I remember you telling me correctly.
They are, yep.
And one of the issues that he had is his customers were very happy with his vehicles, come back to him and they say they'd like to have their vehicles back in showroom condition, maybe 6 months or a year and a half late on these high-end vehicles. So he felt it was a service that he wasn't initially going to get involved in, but obviously the demand was there. So he looked out, scouted properties, and he found this place in Peabody. I did go up, as I said, I'm very comfortable. We actually introduced ourselves to one of the neighbors across the street who has a small used car lot. And currently, the building actually, there is one business, but the business is soon to be, unfortunately, be vacating it, so it'll be 100% unoccupied. So he'd be the new and only tenant at this point in time, from my understanding. Just he understands that the amount of cars, I believe it said 10 to 12 cars, he has to park within the parking parameters that are pointed out, the lines. It's a very well-kept building. Everything's up to date, up to speed. And so I will be supporting the petitioner tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Sasslaw. Anyone, any other councilors? No. Motion, Councilor Manning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the ward councilor. Did I miss it? Is there any construction or any?
There is no construction. There are bays already there in the building. There are 2 bays. You'll see there's pictures, I think, that reflect the bays. No construction at all, pretty basic. It is the building here, right there. Okay. Right, literally right on the corner. It's actually, I think the address is, what is the address? Is the address, it is Newberry Street, yeah, but it's on the, it is with, yes, it is, Council.
Garden Street.
And
Great, thank you. I think this, if it's as the ward council, which I'm sure it is, if it is as he says, it sounds like a great addition to Route 1. So I'm happy to see businesses like this, clean, crisp, coming into that area. Thank you.
Councilor Wells?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Sasslaw. You mentioned that the petitioner sells vehicles, but there'll be no sales here, correct?
that is correct, strictly detailing, no vehicle sales at all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other councilors? Motion to close the public hearing?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right, roll call vote?
And
okay, I'm sorry.
read the notice on the application from Louis Marinello, 9 Elizabeth Lane, Peabody, Mass. For a special permit to operate a motor vehicle wash and detailing facility at 182 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. As filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. So move. To approve.
Yep.
On the motion? Roll call?
Councilors Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to
Congratulations.
council.
Item G, would the clerk please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from Big Pig Barbecue and Catering, Inc., 14 Blue Jay Road, Linfield, Mass. For a special permit to utilize space as a catering business with drive-through at 108 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Joel D. Sasslaw, City Council President.
Thank you. The petitioner here?
Move to receive the handout.
John Kelty, attorney, office is at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I appear on behalf of Big Pig Barbecue, who seeks to obtain a special permit from the City of Peabody City Council to operate a catering business and drive-through at 108 Newbury Street here in Peabody, Massachusetts. This property has had a variety of uses. Most recently, this was going backwards. It was Walloons. It was prior to that the Nest. Prior to that, it was the Dunkin' Donuts. The Dunkin' Donuts just moved. It didn't fail. The other two businesses had a hard go of it. My clients this evening, Big Pig Barbecue and Catering, they are predominantly caterers. That's why they're here before you seeking a special permit. They will utilize the restaurant drive-through eventually, but that might be 2 to 3 months before they sort of establish that other personality. Initially, they will operate as caterer only, with the front end of the restaurant open sporadically and probably no drive-through, as I said, for a couple of months. We have given out something that demonstrates where we are in relation to Huntington Wood Condominium. I was at a meeting the other evening in which the members at Huntington Wood were concerned about our proximity to their residences. The land behind us, directly behind, is business, regional business zoned. The land to the left or to the south, which is Huntington Condominium, that is residentially zoned. We sought a variance the other night in order to encroach upon the 100 feet, but that 100 feet is really far to the south. This particular facility is 460 feet from the nearest condominium residence. That other little red spot shows what the prevailing winds are here in Peabody, Massachusetts, and that in general the prevailing winds come from the south and head north, and that happens the predominant amount of the year. My clients are here this evening. We have also information on on a smoker. I have pictures of a smoker. We have a state-of-the-art smoker that will be utilized. It'll need to be approved by, it is certified nationally. It'll be before the building inspector and the Board of Health.
Motion to receive communication on smoker, the handout.
It's a mobile unit that is connected to filters and scrubbers, which exit through the top of the building, and we're happy to share any more technical information. Chris is here this evening. He can explain, he and Johnny can explain to you anything that you might like to know with respect to the technical aspects. It does vent through the roof, and it does not vent through the side of the structure whatsoever. So we're happy to answer questions that you may have this evening about the, I would like to say that They have, social media has ranked, there are 44 reviews of Big Pig, and 43 of them are 5-star, one is 4-star. So they have an impeccable reputation for their product and for their catering. Most of the foods will be prepared in part on premises, and then they have vans and trailers which they go out with smaller grills and cook on the premises. The only thing that'll take place solely on the premises will be food prep and then the smoker itself. Happy to answer questions you may have.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Anybody there like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Is there anybody here that would like to speak in opposition of the petitioner? Anybody like to speak in opposition of the petitioner? Therefore, none. Let's open it up to the council. Council Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I went to the ZBA meeting, was it Monday night, Joel? Tuesday? Yes, it was this Monday night. And there were a lot of residents here, and I'm surprised they're not here tonight. But they did go to the ZBA meeting, and many of them spoke. So their concern was not necessarily the issue of the variance for the refrigerator, but it was the smoker. So that was really their concern. And I'd like to know, how big is this smoker and why is it mobile?
Hi, you want to state your name and address for the record, please?
Yep, Christopher Labella, 14 Blue Jay Road, Linfield.
John Hambrecht, 224 Nahant Road, Nahant.
So it's actually not a mobile unit. It can be used as that, but it's actually going to be behind the building and in place at all times. It's going to be attached to the building.
So,
to a concrete pad.
okay, so it's going to be outside and vented through the roof? The smoke is outside. I don't think, I don't think that came out the other night. I think the impression was that it's inside,
So
and
it's
then
a
it smokes
through
through a
wall.
chimney. So this is outside.
So it's a through-wall installation, so that the doors to load the smoker will be inside the building, and the body of the unit lives outside the building.
Okay, so then,
The smokestack still goes.
so is the smokestack connected to this, or is it connected to the building? So this is like a separate unit outside,
It attaches.
attaches
it
to the
abuts
building?
the
And
actual
you didn't
building.
need a variance for that, Jack? Because we thought, it sounded like everyone thought it,
We showed the fridge was at 42 feet and the
Yeah.
box was at 49.
We've been
so
working
you
with.
didn't need a variance for this one?
I did.
And you got it?
Yeah.
We've been working with both fire and health, and rather than have it inside the building completely, where the firebox is under the roof, it's actually designed so.
Okay.
Firebox
I
is
don't-
outside, and then.
I don't think that was clear at all at ZBA at all. So I think that's kind of a new bit of information. So that was the main concern for the residents, and your attorney didn't even know it was outside, so it's definitely a new piece of information, so I think people should reflect on that. And the issue was that they didn't want the smoking meats wafting to the area, and again, there were a lot of residents there. So I think that they have a valid concern, and I'm very concerned now that it wasn't aired, no pun, properly at the ZBA, but it did get an approval. And the issue, again, for Route 1 with me is that there are a lot of condo owners out there. It is Route 1, and we need to stop saying, oh, it's just Route 1, and just keep dumping things there without giving the consideration that the property owners and taxpayers have out there, that they're not single-family home owners down in our own neighborhoods, and they are off to the side. And it's not just Route 1, but for condo owners to be heard throughout the city. But in this particular case, I've got major concerns with this now because I sat at the meeting, and I'm sure the ward council will have much to say about this as well, because he was at the meeting, and unfortunately, the residents aren't here tonight. I think they thought that the place to speak was at the ZBA, but I think it probably would have been beneficial if they had shown up tonight as well to speak to their concerns. But this is a new piece of information, and it wasn't presented this way, and I won't be supporting this. Thank you.
Could we just restate, could we, Chris, restate, this is not entirely outside?
No. It's indoor, outdoor. It's the way it was designed. So.
The door opens inside, and you put the meat inside. Oh, and the other thing is that they were concerned about the smoking of the meats all day. They start to smoke at 4:30 a.m. So, you know, that's something to wake up to if they're not downwind. I'm not buying that one either, which way the wind's blowing. But anyway, yes, you mentioned that you put the meat in the inside, and it's connected to the outside, and it vents. He said it vents on the outside.
Yes.
It vents on the outside, Jack, not on the inside. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Manning. Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. So I want to use the visual that we've all gotten and try and clarify a little bit, even for my own purposes and everyone else in the room. So I see the doors, and obviously you said you're going to open up the wall of the building, and the doors are going to be inside the building, and then the unit starts in the building and then goes towards the outside of the building, correct?
Yep.
Just, I see a little vent here. Just give me an idea, is what part of it, actually I see maybe that's, I don't know, where you put the chips in or something? It looks like
That's the firebox, yep.
Firebox. So it is, at what point, you see that little vent, is that, would you say is that?
That's a mechanical
Is it,
access
no,
panel.
I'm trying to help you out here. Okay. Is that in the building, outside the building? Is it parallel to the building? Where would you say that piece of the apparatus would be?
That would be right outside the building.
That'd be right outside the building, okay. And so, I want to be clear, what type of ventilation and where is the ventilation on this specific unit?
So it's out the actual roof of the unit, and there's a smokestack that runs.
Okay, so it would be basically in this particular general area?
A company that just launched in Brooklyn that's been successful in the last year doing briskets. They do huge batches of briskets. They sell it via social media, and they're doing it right in downtown Brooklyn. They vent via an evacuator, which we have another diagram. So they vent on control, and they'll vent above the height. There's still I don't know if the inspector knows it, but there's a height it has to go over.
Excuse me, could you speak into the mic, please? Thanks.
Yeah. So they vent via an evacuator on control. It vents well over the height of the building. And the primary fuel source is not just wood and charcoal. It's a propane run unit, or natural gas, propane natural gas. And the wood is to supplement. Overnight, it burns 4 logs, 4 16-inch sticks. Or it's in a batch, an 8 to 12 hour batch. It burns 4 sticks of wood. And we used it, this is not our first use with it. We've owned it for a while. We've been in business for 8 years. It was in use in Wilmington as well as Lynn. We've had an active HACCP plan in both towns and the approved variance in both towns, and 0 complaints.
And I just want to add that, so it's designed in a method so it disperses the actual smoke with the air, so that by the time you know, it's high enough that it disperses and it's not an issue.
So, and will does this unit have that evacuator that you speak of?
Yes, we'll have an evacuator on it and a flue pipe as well that is erected vertically above it. Yep.
And you also, so you'll also be doing additional food preparation inside the former Wallens building, and that'll vent through the current ventilation system that's been there for the last 2 restaurants, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You know, the interesting thing is, I read the newspaper today, and it's amazing what you can find when you read the newspaper. So in today's Lynn item, it's an article about Wallens, who went out of business on Route 1 in Peabody. He once owned the restaurant Wallens in Peabody, but said the location wasn't ideal given the high rent on Route 1. So we've had 2 businesses go there since Dunkin' Donuts was successful and was so successful they moved up the street. I do have some concerns, but I think as was pretty eloquently stated by my fellow Ward Councilman Mitsoulas, it's that fine line of supporting business but also making sure the quality of life of the residents is not affected. And I do appreciate the map that was given out, because the ZBA the other night, as Councilman Manning did say, they did vote to approve it on a 4-to-1 vote, and there was some discussion about going to the variances, but as you can see, it's 460 feet away. To me, that's a fair distance. This is not 50, not 100. This is a good distance, and I'm comfortable with that. They, you know, the wind, you know, it is what it is. I know there's going to be some days where it might blow in the wrong direction, but understand that what we're doing is they're going to be opening up a catering business, and then, as I've discussed with them, the goal is 3 to 6 months. They will then hopefully open up to a restaurant with a drive-through. The drive-through will not be open up right away. They can do it technically, but their goal is to get their catering business off the ground. They have a current catering business. They're just trying to find a home to run that business out of, and then at some point in time, to offer barbecue to the residents and to people going up and down Route 1. But they're gonna crawl, walk, run, Dave? Crawl, walk, run. So, as I said, I know that they're, and also, by the way, they will not be opening up 24/7 like a Dunkin' Donuts. They have put restrictions on the business hours, and for those reasons, they know, we've spoken that they're under the watchful eye of Huntington Woods. Huntington Woods did express the fact that they would like to see a business be successful there. So I'm going to support the business, and hopefully, as they continue to grow, we'll all be able to go in there and have good barbecue, and they'll be a good neighbor and a member of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. He is acting. Can you tell me, fellas, is there an opportunity to put this inside some type of building, cinder block, and then vent it out? You're not, currently, that is not the plan, right? This is going to be sitting outside with an inside doorway. Is there any opportunity to put it inside a building?
I mean, I'm sure there is, but I mean, the fire department already expressed a little bit of concern with that being fully enclosed.
Why, were you originally going to put it inside some kind of structure?
I mean, they do live inside.
They what, sorry?
They do live inside, yep. The units are made to live inside or outside or attached to the building like we are proposing. It just, for our business and our needs, you know, it's best suited the way we presented it.
Okay.
All set, Councilor Gould, or you want to make your point?
No, I'm thinking, Mr. President.
Excuse me.
You know, I feel Councilor Manning was on point on a number of items, one of which is that it wasn't an open discussion at the ZBA last night about this smoker being outside. I don't think it was. I wasn't there. I wish I was. I'd like to see if you guys could come back before us with an enclosed structure that sits inside, but that's your business plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. Through you to Councilor Sasslaw, and I think Councilor Charis can attest to this. In dealing with Rousselot over the years, and of course that is orders of magnitude larger and an old process, but we've been dealing with odor issues in neighborhoods and complaints about that for a very long time. But they have been mitigated to some extent. They've invested a lot of money to do that and so forth. And my intent here is not to talk about Rousselot. What I want to get across is that on our Board of Health, because of all their experience with Rousselot, they have a tremendous depth of knowledge in how to deal with odor issues, a tremendous depth of knowledge. And it's very impressive, and again, I'll ask Councilor Charis to chime in on that in terms of his experience in dealing with this firsthand, as I have. I think some of the issues that have been raised are legitimate. However, I think these odor issues, given current technology, can be limited so that they're not offensive. So I might suggest, Councilor Sasslaw, that you condition it subject to compliance with odor control recommendations of the Board of Health. I think that would, in my opinion, safely address any of the concerns that the neighbors might have. And in that way, we're not trying to micromanage, what this may or may not smell like, where it is relative to the building. Let's tap into that knowledge base that exists in the Board of Health, that again I think is extensive, and let them make a recommendation on it. And if they can comply with that recommendation, then the permit would be granted. If they can't, then they would not. So that's my suggestion on the odor issue. I do have one other question with respect to the drive-through. I've been up there a few times. I was looking at that building when the Nest, I guess, was in there, and that's a very narrow gap to go through for the drive-through. So if this unit is to extend out of the building, where exactly out of the building does it come? Which wall does it extend out of? Is it the rear of the building? And I guess my direct question is, would that protrusion out of the building somehow interfere with what is a fairly narrow drive-through space?
Yep, so there was, it's out the back of the building, the smoker, and it's actually, it would be within the landscaped area back there, over the curb cut, and...
Okay, so it in no way interferes with that narrow space that exists now to get around the building, so that if you were to resume the drive-through, that's a non-issue in your opinion?
It doesn't encroach on that at all.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Charis.
Thank you, Dean of Council. I have some experience in food. Sure. Right. The smoker that you have that's going to be half inside, half outside. On the outside of the smoker, does it get hot? And do you have concerns with people up against it on the outside? First of all, there's one question.
Yeah, no, the outside of the actual smoker does not get hot. It's fully contained, insulated in the actual firebox itself.
Okay. Now, with this machine that you have, this new smoker, it's not like the old barrels that people had made smokers out of and things of that nature. Cost on this machine?
Retails about $20,000.
Yeah. And you say it uses 4 logs, or you call sticks, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. and to fire up, how long those burn for, the 4 sticks?
So, yeah, 4 traditional fireplace-sized logs, 16-inch, about this round.
Right.
And those will burn out in 5 or 6 hours.
Okay.
But the smoke is only needed at the beginning of the smoking process. Nitrates don't enter meat after 150 degrees of meat temperature. So after those burn out in 6 hours, that's all the wood that goes in. The rest is just natural gas supplied, low heat, so it burns less than a house fireplace, literally.
Of course. I'm sorry, it's not going to be unattended, somebody who's going to be there working while they're on cooking. The height of, to the Attorney Kelty, the height of the trees that we see between Huntington Woods and the first building that's not theirs, what's the height of those trees? You have any idea?
Yeah,
If
they're actually not, they're not old forest trees. They're more like kind of rubber trees. When you're right at the back, that's lot 4 that was Richard Marquez's years ago.
Yeah.
Those trees, those are more like shrubs and trees.
Okay.
And they're probably 15 or so feet high. They're up on a grade much higher than us to begin with, like about 4 or 5 feet, and then they go up. When you get to the other corner of the property, then there's an elevation from the driveway that is probably 6 feet high, and then their trees, which are a little more sparse, but they're probably 5 feet. Yeah, the left-hand corner of the property. The southerly side of the property, yes. Should I address his concern? I would say there are some deeper that are taller, and there are some that are very full. But when you stand right in that corner, you can see that guy's roof right through. There's a fence and some low shrubs. I think they're there, shrubs, by the way. They're not on this property. Yes, they're there.
My thought is the smoke, lack of, okay, would be filtered by any trees that were there between the building and the Huntington Woods. Now, I know with these new smokers and ovens that's out there, they do reduce down quite a bit of what they release. So it's not, like I said before, the old smokers that you have in the patio, which, you know, I'm sure some of the residents of Huntington Woods have their own smokers and things. And again, as Councilman McGinn had said, we worked a lot with Rousselot and the smells that comes from there, which is, you know, lime and sludge. It's a wastewater treatment center, which is probably a lot worse than any odors that you'll come from here. And I'm sure some of the odors that come from Dunkin' Donuts with frying a donut is more offensive to some people too. I did that for many years, and quite honestly, you get sick of it. But it is very interesting that this oven is going to be inside, outside. In the design for the wood chips in the stacks, where's that going to be stored? The wood for itself. Where is it going to be stored? Is it going to be stored inside the building, or is it going to be outside in another shed?
No, inside the facility.
Yeah, it's food grade wood that we buy and have to keep indoors in dry storage.
Away from pests, any kind of insects. So
Yep.
Health department prefers
Yep.
that.
Thank you.
And if I could, I want to add something about the councilor's concern at the end. Yep. So I know that you expressed some concern about whether it could live inside a building. So basically, it's actually the same evacuator if it's inside under an Ansel system or a hood versus being outside, and the evacuator would be the same height as the roof level, and the stack would be dissipating it the same way. So.
Council Sasslaw.
One of the things I wanted to bring up is I thought there was a good point made when I met with them. where it's been correctly described by Councilor Charis, so it's inside and outside. It's not all the way outside. Half of it is inside. But one of the things that the fire department, the positive aspect is they like the fact that the firebox is technically outside the building. They like that. It's a safety issue. I'd like to ask Councilor Kelty, they're here because they need a special permit for catering business. My question is this: by right, they could be a restaurant. Is that correct? Yes. By right, where they can be a restaurant, if they did not get the permit tonight, a special permit to open up a catering business, could they open up a restaurant with a smoker? Yes. So, thank you for clarifying that. And I clarified that for myself also, and I appreciate that. And as much as it's funny, we talk about smells and things of that nature, and I know Russo's had their problems, and just recently with this weather, we have some issues up on Wood 5 with some Northeast nurseries and some compost. I just filled up at Hess gas station today, and you know it wafts all the way down there. My concern is I have no problem bringing in the health department, Councilman McGinn. If there's a problem, my issue is to, you know, I'm comfortable enough to let them open up. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Maybe someone else can help me out. We look at so many of these forms. Does this not go to the health department, the special permit, because they don't see it as a health issue?
It's
I believe commented that if there was any expansion of the kitchen, it would need to be fully inspected.
Okay. That's in the application?
Yeah, item 8P, it's attached to.
Separate, right. So, I right. So I just, as far as delaying it, over-regulating it, I think to bring them in if we have an issue, but I'm once again, it's a $20,000 unit. This is not Joe's Smoky Joe out at Foxborough. I believe the investment they're making, and they're very well aware of the eyes that are on them from their neighbors and from myself, quite frankly. That I just, to delay it, to get the Board of Health's recommendation or things of that nature, I think if there had been enough of an issue, then I would stop the process. But I think really to do that is sometimes, we just can get in the way of ourselves. And I'm comfortable enough. I feel I vetted it properly, and so I appreciate all your input. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Can I get a motion to receive 8P?
Move to receive.
So move. Council Gravel?
Sure. I actually find some of this discussion this evening interesting because it's usually the at-large councilors that are fighting for the businesses and the ward council is worried about the residents, and which is, I guess, appropriate given the fact that we have to manage inside of different wards. Your ward is confined by a certain amount of space, and mine is confined by a whole city. And I was glad you gave the picture, because the picture was a brutal reminder for me of the piece of land that was gutted behind it by one of the well-intentioned commercial developers who basically strip mined the land. Told us at one point in time we'd have a bowling alley there and an entertainment center and a this and a that. Was going to put houses there. Violated every condition in every rule, and left the neighbors to fend for themselves. And I still remember the neighbors who, one of them who called me up crying because their pool was ruined by the runoff. And the fact that they put special little pipes in there for oozing product that was coming out of the ground. And I'm like, it's just a brutal reminder of what can happen with the wrong people. I'm not saying you're the wrong people, but there was a substantial amount of opposition. I mean, I've been on the council for a long time, and I've never received as many emails, phone calls, and requests for support from neighbors than I have for this particular project. And I think I actually got more calls on this than I got on that big ugly billboard that they stuck up next to the subway on Lowell Street. You know, I got to believe that some of their concern is valid. I mean, I have a place up north, and I see smokers up there, and I see what happens to the smoke, and you can smell the odors from it. And some people it doesn't bother them, other people it does. You know, Council Sasslaw makes a great point. They could put a restaurant there and put a smoker in. But you know what? I'm not so sure that's what they really want to do, to be honest with you. So I think, you know, this time I'm listening to the neighbors who've had to live through lots of stuff in this area. And I know you have to walk that fine line. I usually walk the fine line on the other side on behalf of the business. But tonight I'm not walking that fine line on that side. I think I'm going to err on the part of the residents.
Thank you, Councilor Gravel. Councilor Wall.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. One quick question through you is, so there is no request for relief as far as any buffer zone goes, is that correct? As far as any buffer zone?
There was Monday night, yes.
Okay.
Because despite the fact that the VR directly behind us, over there is residents, and your statute says if you're adjacent to, and so we are adjacent to a residence district. So we asked for 42 feet and 49 feet at the rear. So there was zoning relief given, yes.
But that pretty much exists today.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were actually built, this building was built in 1980, and they were already encroaching in that district.
Okay, and the property that directly abuts this building is not Huntington Woods. Is that correct, or is it?
Look to the south, that's Huntington Woods. So it is adjacent to us, and technically it does abut. It just doesn't abut directly out the back door.
Okay, thanks. Mr. President, you know, I have some reservations. I would feel much more comfortable if we had some conversation with the residents of Huntington Woods, because I too got a lot of emails and corresponded back and forth with them. You know, and my concern was the buffer zone, and we discussed that, but I didn't want to discourage, if there was a way to allow this business to operate, you know, coming to some type of agreement. I'm uncomfortable tonight voting on this without another conversation with the residents and trying to make sure that their concerns are addressed. And the buffer zone was the bigger issue with me. Look, there are a lot of restaurants along Route 1, and a lot of them have smoke that, you know, not just Route 1, anywhere where there's a restaurant. I can smell the donuts from Centennial Park sometimes. So, you know, I get everyone's concerns, but I just feel like I would be a little bit disingenuous to the people that I have corresponded with over the last week if all of a sudden, you know, because there's this distance, I voted for it tonight. So I'm not necessarily opposed, but I'm not comfortable tonight voting on it until I have some conversations with the people that I spoke with during the week.
Okay, I understand, Councilor Walsh. Thank you. Councilman McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. I'll be very brief, but I just through you to Councilor Sasslaw, I don't see the suggestion that I made as overregulation or introducing any unnecessary delay. I think that could happen very swiftly. Again, I just want to reiterate to this body that we have the wherewithal within this city to address these types of concerns, in my opinion, we should utilize that. We can condition it based on that. I think the primary issue is that the neighbors have is with the odor. I think that if we can get compliance to that recommendation, that would be a non-existent issue, and it would address in advance of it becoming a problem, so that we don't have to deal with it after the fact, concerns that neighbors would have with respect to odors. So again, I would suggest that if it's the will of the body tonight to press forward with this, that it be with that condition that I had mentioned earlier. Thank you, Mr. Acting President.
Councilor Sasslaw.
So, is it possible that this unit that you showed us, that I assume you currently own, is it possible if, and I hear you loud and clear, fellow councilors, to maybe have a trial run with some of the neighbors and have it working? They can see how it works and see what's going on. Because I think, in addition to if there's issues with the health department, and I respect what you're saying, Councilor, but more importantly, the actually seeing it working and what type of smoke it gives us, I think, we could maybe alleviate some of those concerns and fears. Is that a possibility, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
Two things. We could, you're next here July 13th? July 18th. July 18th. Okay, we could come back July 18th and have a better set drawings for the interior so that you could see as it goes through the wall, so that you could see where the venting is. So it would be two profiles. One is showing us how the machine lays out in that space. And then secondly, we could explore possibility of enclosing it, but with these, I think, more accurate drawings. And the third thing would be to vet the machine itself with the Board of Health prior to.
Yeah, I'm fine with working with the Board of Health directly.
Councilor Sasslaw.
And while I appreciate it, but you know what? If we're gonna do it right, why don't we just fire it up? It's the season. I mean, let's have the neighbors up there. Let's see what's going on. You said you can do it, because drawings are good, but drawings aren't realistic. And I think that you're still going to have some of the neighbors, because I've worked with them closely. They're still going to have a question about the dissipation of the smoke and how good and/or bad it is. And quite frankly, you might even be able to win over a few councils who have that concern if they want to come up and see it vetted whatever day. I just think that, it's just the right way to do it. I don't think drawings are going to do it. The health department, I don't know. I don't know what the health department, I mean, I just think, and please chime in, fellow council, if you think that's a crazy idea, let me know. If you think it's a good idea, I just think that having the health department come up or commenting on the apparatus, I think it'd be better just to vet it 100% and let the people see. But I'm open for suggestions at this point.
Thank you, Councilor Sasslaw. Councilor Charis, then Councilor McGinn.
I'll be real quick. Through the chair, we have a restaurant that smokes and barbecues smack in the middle of a neighborhood of 4 and 5, and I haven't received any complaints on that, and I doubt they have a machine quite like this. Again, I've been in the food business for quite some time. I know what you're talking about when you have a machine like this that filters out with evaporation system, automatic, what kind of equipment you're talking about. So I think just for food for thought, no pun, and I think that the thought of having it fired up and have people try it, I'm sure Councilor Turco will be the first one there to try to piece a brisket there. He's not even paying attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McGinn.
Yeah, just very quickly, because Councilor Sasslaw asked for comments, there is a science to this. I mean, this is something that we can anticipate under thorough review what the output is going to be based on a review by the right people, and I believe we have that expertise. So Again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I can't imagine why we wouldn't tap into that knowledge base. Thank you.
Thank you. Does somebody want to make a motion to
Motion to
recess?
close
Councilor,
the public hearing.
Councilor Turk.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I actually had something to say, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. I'm so glad that Councilor Charest mentioned that Hoppy's is open right there in the middle of the residential neighborhood. There's not a smell or a complaint, that people love it. And I came in here and I was 100% in favor of the Big Pig. I couldn't wait. And I can't believe we just discussed it for an hour. But anyway, I think Councilor Saslaw's motion maybe to
Councilor Sasslaw did not make a motion. There's a
Council Manning did.
Yeah, there's a
and it was
motion
to
on
close the
floor
public
to
hearing.
close the public hearing.
Already done it, Demo. Motion to close the public hearing, going a third time.
Councilor Gravel.
Just on the motion to close it, if you close it, and you bring this thing back on the 18th, does that preclude any neighbors from coming and discussing their concerns?
On the remark, I wasn't looking to bring it back on the 18th after putting on a smoke show. I'd rather, they've presented, and we've heard it for an hour, as Councilor Turco said, and so I think you should just put it to a vote, and it is what it is. Thank you.
Okay. On the motion, roll call.
On the motion, Mr. Acting President? On the motion?
Yes.
I'd make an
Councilman.
amendment to recess the public hearing. So moved.
Okay. On the recessed public hearing, roll call. Wait.
I object. I don't think that that's germane to my motion. It completely changes my motion. I think that's out of order.
It was an amendment, though.
Yes, I think
To
the
the
amendment is out of order because it completely isn't germane to my motion. I put it to a vote to...
It's good. I don't know. I don't know about that one, but let's yield to the clerk.
Well, it's the council president's ruling whether you want to rule it out of order.
I just don't see it that it's not, that it has anything to do with your motion. He just wants to amend that motion to recess it. We're talking about the same subject, the same issue, the whole, so I don't...
If that is your ruling,
Yeah, that would be my ruling.
That you're the chair.
Okay, so we'll do a motion on the recess. Roll call.
So the motion to recess, is it to the next meeting? Is that the motion?
Correct.
Councilors Manning, Martin.
No.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gravel.
Present.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Motion to recess carries. 8-1, one present.
Those two poor guys. They don't know what happened.
Oh, yeah, item H. Item H, would the clerk please read the notice?
Before we move on to that, just so that we're procedurally correct, I think under the rules, I'm not sure that you could amend Councilor Manning's motion. I think the more proper, and again, unfortunately, I was just reflecting back, there are certain motions that you can and you can't, and I really believe that in that case, the proper thing to have done would be to vote the motion, and if you wanted to not have it succeed, fail the motion, and then put the motion out to do the recess. I don't think you're allowed to amend, a motion of direct impact, which is a motion to close. So that's like trying to amend a motion to adjourn or a motion for reconsideration. Under the rules, I don't think you can do that. That's my interpretation of it. I just,
And I'll second that.
Okay, item H. Clerk, please read the notice.
Mr. Acting President,
Councilman McGinn.
through you to Councilor Gravel, I think procedurally, we did vote on the amendment, we never voted on the actual motion. Is that, because that was never withdrawn, so
Well, you vote on the amendment first and then the motion, I believe. It's just, I mean,
reason why that's not the case is because when you're voting on an amendment, if the amendment survives, then the motion is not germane and can't be voted on. So, but there are, a handful of motions that, in Robert's rules that are not allowable to be amended because they're decisionary motions. They're not motions to proceed with something. They're motions to do something. So a motion to adjourn, a motion to reconsider it, there's no discussion on that motion. You can't amend it and say, well, the motion to reconsider, no, I want to amend it so that we don't reconsider it. It's typically, you have to vote down one and then another motion has to be made. That's my interpretation of it, but I'm only one person here, so.
Thank you, Councilman.
That's why I voted present.
Councilman McGinn.
Yeah, thank you. This body's not fully controlled by Robert's rules, and I'm looking at the rules and orders of the City Council of the City of Peabody, and I think under Section 6, subsection F, that action was permitted. So, just as a point of reference. Thank you, Mr. Acting President.
Well, I hope we can be as accurate when we take the other rule that's in there, which allows for only one rebuttal and 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it was of discussion. But
Okay, one more time. Will the clerk please read the notice, item H?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., in accordance with a remand order from the Superior Court of Essex County to the Peabody City Council as it pertains to civil action number 1477 CV 01966-A, Outdoor Ad Concepts LLC versus the City Council of the City of Peabody with respect to the plaintiff's proposal to construct a static billboard sign located in the BR1 zoning district visible from Route 1 north and south on premises located at 41 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. Peabody City Council, Councilor Joel D. Saslaw, City Council President.
Thank you. Will the petitioner come to the
John Kelty,
podium?
attorney with offices at 40 Lowell Street, Peabody, Massachusetts, and I respectfully request that this matter be withdrawn without prejudice from the consideration of the City of Peabody City Council.
Council Saslaw.
Just a question. So when he says withdrawn, this was the last billboard. This was remanded us back from the courts. By withdrawing it without prejudice, he can't come back before, correct?
I believe, Councilor, if you withdraw, you can come back and refile, I believe, but I don't know how the remand works. It's a remand from the
My thought was this was my thought this was the shot. This was the one shot, the remand hearing. We've continued it for many months. Council, you care to weigh in on that? I feel that, if you withdraw this without prejudice, that you cannot come before us. This was your shot. The court said it was remanded back to the council. You're now withdrawing it. We have a moratorium. So I just want to, I'm on the assumption that we're done. Care to comment, Council?
Is your preference to kick it to the next meeting so that you can understand fully that a withdrawal will do what you expect it to do?
My preference is to hear it tonight and to go forward. We've continued this, and on your request, I think once, if not twice, and
twice.
Well, 3 times not a charm in my book. I'd just like to hear it and do it. Is there a reason why we're continuing it again while we're waiting, at 10:30 on the night of the hearing, that we're gonna withdraw it? Or, you know, at least in the past, you've given us some notice, but this is new to, I think, everybody here in the council chambers.
I've withdrawn it, and you want to know whether that finalizes everything, and I think that you could accept the motion to withdraw and have it reviewed, and you find what you find, but... Or you could kick it one more time and find out from the city solicitor whether my withdrawal ends it.
Any senior members who had a comment?
Council Wall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really don't have a problem if we want to wait a couple more weeks, but I do agree with you that if you withdraw tonight, my interpretation of it is you're done, because we have a moratorium.
I'm just not answering the question.
Right. No, that's fine. I don't need to ask you.
Yeah.
You know, with all due respect, Jack,
I understand
I'm not asking you. You asked for an interpretation from the council, how we see it. If you withdraw without prejudice this evening, I don't see an avenue for you to come back with an application. So I don't have a problem waiting 2 weeks if you want, you know, out of courtesy, but that would be it. It's up to you.
Yeah. I'll motion to accept the withdrawal, and also Vern's motions, orders, resolutions, I'll bring it up in another form to get a legal opinion. But yeah, motion to approve the withdrawal.
Okay. On the motion, Councilor Gould.
I'd rather, thank you, Mr. President, I'd rather, Councilor Sasslaw, that we hear it and finalize it tonight. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Point of information, City Clerk, if the council wishes to hear it tonight, do we need a vote on that, or just we will not accept the withdrawal and ask for the public hearing?
I think we have the choice of not accepting the withdrawal. Councilor Gravel, you holding anything back now when we make this decision? I said we make this decision. You holding anything back in there?
Listen, I was just trying to qualify something. I mean, it's, you know, even though we have our own special rules here, we do follow certain things, so that's what I was trying to do.
So it's up to the council what you want to, you know, again, if you want to vote on it tonight, Councilor Gould wants to hear it tonight. There's nobody here that we're going to, you know, hear it from, but it's our call.
I'll rescind my motion to continue the public hearing. Let's hear it.
So moved.
I didn't bring my client, didn't bring my chalks, because my expectation was it would be withdrawn.
Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, through you, again, with all due respect, Jack, I mean, we had this on the agenda. You
Yes,
knew
I
that
understand.
Nobody's mentioned to us before, like Councilor Sasslaw said, until 10:30 tonight that you want to withdraw it. So maybe you should have had all this information. We sent out a public notice in the newspapers to advertise this. Luckily, nobody showed up, but I thought this was the way it worked, that you give us a date, you tell us when you're going to be here, and then we hear it. Thank you.
Councilor Walsh.
What's the motion, Mr. President?
There's a motion on the floor to hear the petitioner. Councilor McGinn.
Yeah, because we want to be procedurally correct, I don't think that requires a motion, right? We're either going to proceed or we're not. So there would only need to be a motion if we were going to take some action to allow the withdrawal to continue or any of the other matters. So I think if we're going to proceed...
I guess the action could be that we're not going to hear it anymore.
I think the motion would be to not accept the withdrawal. That's the motion, to not accept the withdrawal and then go through with the public hearing.
So the motion is not to accept the withdrawal.
You want to take a vote on that? Roll call vote?
On the motion, roll call.
Yes.
Councilors Sasslaw,
Yes.
Gravel. This is not to accept the withdrawal.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-2, 2 absent.
So what happened?
Can we open the hearing?
We voted, the motion was to not accept the withdrawal. So a consequence of that motion would be to hold the public hearing.
So is there anybody in favor?
If I don't go forward, where does that put us?
If you don't go forward, I think we take a vote. If you don't, you're here, and if you don't go forward, I think, listen, we all have our packets. I can lend you one if you need one. I mean, I don't know. I think we go forward with it, and...
No, I'm not going to.
I think, Jack, the question is, I mean, how many times is your client not going to come up?
I came here to withdraw. You wouldn't accept my withdrawal. I'm not going to go forward. So where does that find us?
Guess we can recess to the next meeting.
And if I bring the withdrawal letter, would you feel satisfied?
Rather than verbal withdrawal? Yeah, this is a tough one, guys. I'm not a lawyer, and I just feel that if we can accept the withdrawal, I just think the body will is to be done with this. And if we accept it, once again, that's, I guess, why we don't have a city solicitor here and to get this type of question answered. I mean, no one wants to get lawsuits. I don't think we're in anywhere in that territory, but just to throw it out there, I think if we accept the withdrawal, then we're done with it. But what's the will of the council? I'll go either way. He doesn't want to hear it, and he didn't choose to hear it. We can vote it down, or we can change it and go withdraw it. But we have to do something, and I'm looking for the will of the council.
Council Walsh.
Look, I'm willing to allow him to withdraw without prejudice, but, that's my point of view.
Councilor Charis.
Through the chair, this is my understanding. If we vote to allow him to withdraw it, and we find out tomorrow that it's done, we just went along with what the council had asked for. If we come back and says, no, we're not done, then we have to hear it again. And we just go through the proper channels. I think, like I said, if he withdraws and it's by right that he's done, by the rules, then he's done.
So I'll make a motion, we'll accept the withdrawal without prejudice, and he must resubmit.
Councilman McGinn. What? I think if you're going to do that, excuse me, Mr. Acting President, through you to Councilor Sasslaw, I think we need to reconsider what we just did. If you're going to go that way, we need to undo that, correct, Councilor Gravel? And then you need to come with your new motion. I don't. So there needs to be reconsideration first.
Mr. President, if I may, I was the one that originally made the motion. I'll reconsider my motion and withdraw it and defer to Councilor Saslaw's motion. So moved.
We have to take a roll call to
Okay,
reconsider.
thank you.
If you want to reconsider the matter.
Yes, please.
All right. On the roll call, the reconsider.
Yes.
Wait a minute, Councilor Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas. Charis.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Motion to reconsider carries 10-0. Matters.
Okay, so the motion now, Councilor Sasslaw.
Motion to accept the withdrawal. Without prejudice.
Okay. On the motion, roll call.
Councilor Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Mitsoulas. Charis.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Motion to withdraw carries
Thank you, Councilor.
9-0.
That wasn't too bad, huh, Mike? Wasn't too bad, right? All right. Item 5, reports of committee, Legal Affairs Committee, Council Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, the Legal Affairs Committee met regarding the new site for a polling place for Wards 5, Precinct 1 and Ward 5, Precinct 2, which will be moved, get the correct name, to the West Congregation Church, 27 Johnson Street. We no longer will be using the Kiley School if this council votes approval of this, and this would be ready for the September 12th primary if needed. So moved.
Thank you, Council Walsh. Next up, Finance Committee, Councilor Gravel. Motions.
All in favor?
All in favor of Council Walsh's report? Any opposed? To vote. Finance Committee, Council Gravel.
I was just checking to see if we still had a quorum. I'll be right with you.
Take your time.
Well, it's only 10:30. So this evening, we had a meeting of the Finance Committee, and present on behalf of the committee were myself as the chair, Councilor Gould, Councilor Manning Martin, Councilor McGinn, and Councilor Turco. Also present were Councilor Walsh, Councilor Mitsoulas, Councilor Charest, and Councilor Garabedian. Topics on the agenda tonight included transfer of funds under the date of May 30th. They were amended by a memorandum that we received on our desk. The first motion was to move from various department salaries with a list. I'll dispense with the reading. That was attached in the amount of $158,125 and move it to salaries from various departments in the amount of $158,125. So moved.
You've heard the report. Council Gravel. So move on the motion. All in favor, any opposed, vote.
It's a financial one, you have to roll call it.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould. McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Charist. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0, 4 absent.
Second motion was to move from retained earnings account 430-33-101, an amount of $15,000, and move it to the skating rink salaries account 436-990-51-120, in the amount of $15,000. So moved.
Further report on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould. McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh. Charist.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Third motion, again, these were carried by Councilor McGinn, was to move retained earnings, money from the retained earnings golf course account 440-33-101 in the amount of $8,000 to the golf course salaries account 440-6998-51-120 in the amount of $8,000. So moved.
You've heard the report. Roll call vote.
Councilors Gravel.
Yes.
Turco. Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Then we had a request for transfers totaling the amount of $1,299,600. This was done for the purpose of clearing accounts at the end of the year. I'll dispense with the reading. It was an item that was provided to us by the mayor. And the total transfer was coming from, in the amount of $1,299 and $1,299,600 going to a variety of accounts in the amount of $1,299,600. So moved.
You've heard the report. Roll call vote.
Councilors Gravel.
Yes?
Turco.
Yes.
Gould. McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh. Charis.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Under suspension of the rules, we took up a transfer of funds for the CPA South School Playground in the amount of $35,000. And the amount came from, Tim, you're gonna have to remind me of the accounts because I don't have them, they're not showing up on my screen.
Community
right now.
Preservation Act Open Space to Community Preservation Act South School Playground.
Thank you, Councilman McGinn. So moved.
For the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
And the last thing we discussed was the water and sewer rates. We got some information from the mayor about some of the prevailing rates in the various communities. He had adjusted his request, which was originally at 10%, down to a 5% rate increase. This is reviewed annually, and a decision will be made each year by the council as to what level of increase. We're still well below our neighbors, and there was also a discussion about the fact that because of the Coolidge plant fire, we're depending on the MWRA, which is far more expensive for us. So at the end of the year, the compromise was made that at the end of the year, when we get the assessment from the MWRA, that we will look at using our reserve fund, our rainy day fund, so to speak, to offset the cost of the water so that we don't push all the burden back onto the taxpayer. So the 5% increase, the motion was that Section 2 sewer and water rates, the sewer and water rates per 100 cubic feet shall be as follows. Effective July 1st, 2017, rates shall increase 5%. A rate structure review shall be done annually each June. And Section 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent herewith are hereby replaced. The ordinance shall take effect upon passage or otherwise as provided by law, which the motion here would be to approve the increase in advertise as approved.
You heard the report. Roll call vote on the motion.
Councilors Gravel.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould. McGinn.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Gravel. Committee of the Whole Executive Session, we met in private with the mayor to review pending litigation. Nothing to report at this time to the public. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Gravel.
I have one motion this evening, and it's interesting that it just occurs coincidentally with the water and sewer rate increase. I received a notification from Warren Waugh, who is at the Centennial Park, but also owns a Land Rover dealership on Route 1. And he's a good tax-paying business, and he has contacted our water department on several occasions because they do not have enough pressure at their site on Route 1 to allow them to flush the toilets, and they're concerned that in the event of a fire, they will not have enough pressure to put out the fire. Repeated attempts to discuss it with the water department have led nowhere, so I'd like to make a motion that the Director of Public Works, Dave Terenzoni, contact Warren Waugh and his representative at the Land Rover store and determine what can be done to augment the pressure that they're receiving to ensure that they're living in a safe environment. If they're paying money for the water, they should at least have the water they need. So moved.
You've heard the motion. Councilor Gravel, just on that, just to reiterate on that, I'm having the same issue with residences, and I'd like to your motion, have them contact 111, but I'd actually like to ask that the Water Department management team, we have a meeting of the Department of Public Services. I think they need to answer to some of the residents also. It's an ongoing issue, and I think we need to get some clarification. So if you'd like, I'd like to piggyback on yours, and in addition to
Fine with me.
also make a recommendation that request the Department of Public Service Water Department management team at the next subcommittee of Department of Public Services, please. And I'd like that to be at the next meeting in July, if at all possible, please. Department of Public Services subcommittee, yes. And I'll let Councilor Manning Martin know. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Gravel. All in favor? Any opposed? A vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive item 7A.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? A vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I ask for a motion to, I don't even know if this would be a motion, to have the golf course and skating rink subcommittee meet. I did receive several phone calls from residents about the $111,000 deficit, and I don't want to let that die at budget like it did last year. I'd like to address it in subcommittee. So could we schedule that? Is it a motion to schedule the subcommittee meeting for golf and skating? And that would be through council.
Motion to set up a meeting of the ad hoc golf and...
Yeah, and I guess that's Councilor Sinowitz, correct?
Yep. Yep, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? A vote.
Mr. President, move to have the sidewalk at 15 Batchelder Avenue repaired. It's a couple of elderly residents that have trouble traversing that sidewalk. Thank you.
For the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? A vote.
And lastly, our previous discussion tonight, I would like to have Attorney Smrzinski address the council, whether it be in full session or an executive session regarding the Verizon lawsuit and the status of that lawsuit.
For the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? A vote. Councilor, is that Councilor?
That's it.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to, under suspension of the rules, receive, and I don't know what number it is, Tim. It's from St. Vasilios, looking late communication. You know, the problem is through you, Mr. President, to Tim, their picnic is Sunday, and they're looking for us to hang a banner. I don't know how quick you can get PMLP out there, Tim.
There's been a request to have PMLP kind of put it on the fast track. I don't know if it's even gone up yet, but
Even what? It has not gone up.
It hasn't gone up?
No.
Okay.
And if you look, this thing was submitted on the 19th, so it's no fault of your office.
No,
Tim.
I know it slipped through the cracks at St. Val's, and we're trying to accommodate them.
Yeah, if you can help tomorrow, maybe, I don't know. But thank you, Mr.
For the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? A vote.
No further motions.
Thank you. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move to advertise an amendment to the ordinances of the City of Peabody, Section 19-94, to establish a no parking area on Perkins Street on the easterly side from Franklin Street, 80 feet in the northerly direction. So moved. And on that motion, this matter has been thoroughly reviewed by the police department, and they are in support of this ordinance change.
For the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? A vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8K and approve, all papers being in order.
For the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? A vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8N and schedule a public hearing. So moved.
For the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? A vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just a reminder that we will be celebrating Independence Day on July 4th in Ward 2 at beautiful O'Connor Park behind the Wells School. It's going to be an excellent celebration. We're very excited about it. Planning is well underway, and that will be from 9 a.m. to noon. Thank you, Mr. President.
Pony rides, if I heard correctly, right, Counselor?
We will, in fact, have pony rides, so if there's any ward councilor here that would like to attempt to top that, I have a go at it.
Counselor Walsh.
No motions, Mr. President.
Thank you. Counselor Charist.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a co-motion with Councilor Sasslaw on the, if you indulge. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the guardrail that was taken out on Forest Street and Lowell Street. Half of it was sticking out, while the other half was taken out today. So now there is no more guardrail. It's amazing how the trucks will just follow GPS blindly. But if I understand that there was a sign that was on Lowell Street, say no trucks left or right turn up Forest Street, but that sign has been taken down, I think, either by an accident or I don't know why. But I make a motion that signs on both direction on Lowell Street and maybe the entrance of Forest Street, which way, they needed to have it posted so the trucks do not try to make the turn to go up Forest Street. So move.
You've heard the motion.
There might be one going up
All
there
in
now.
favor? Any opposed? To vote?
And I'd like to also announce that 4th of July, we'll be having a picnic at Emerson Park for Ward 4. We'll be having hamburgers, hot dogs, ice cream, all the games. Mr. Turkle missed his turn, so he has to wait. Volunteers are all welcome. We have a volunteer lunch afterwards. Lots of fun games, again, prizes. And even though I may not have pony rides, I will be giving back, what do you call it? On your back rides if I need to top Mr. McGinn.
Thank you, Councilor Charis. Thank you. I'd like to make one motion along this motion with the next subcommittee of Department of Public Services. I'd like to ask them to also talk to us about the process of when the utilities open up the street and what the liability is. I know I missed the last meeting, but I also, Councilman Soulis brought up at length about opening up streets, and we just had National Grid come through a neighborhood in West Peabody, and it looks horrible. So I just like the DPS to come down that same night and review the process of when utilities open up the street, what their obligation is, how long, if there's a point in time, so on and so forth. You've heard the motion. All in favor and opposed? It's a vote. And I need some people to...
Mr. President, move to receive under suspension of the rules item 8A and refer to council special meeting agenda item A. So moved.
I think the item 8A, I don't know if that needs to be moved anywhere, Councilor. We basically...
We've already addressed that matter, but
it's this evening, yes.
It's just, okay, I'll
Just
withdraw
we
that
received
motion.
it, correct, yeah.
I'll withdraw that motion and just move to receive.
Well, you've heard the motion. All in favor and opposed? To vote.
And, Mr. President, I would move to receive item 8B and approve the Community Development Authority City Council appointment of Gary J. Boer, 14 Pocahontas Drive, Peabody, Mass. 01960, to the position of the Community Development Authority for a one-year term to expire December 31st, 2017. So move.
You've heard the motion. Point of information, his address has changed to Emily Lane, and the clerk will make the notation of the new address for the appointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
8.
make a motion to receive 8C.
You've heard the motion. All in favor and opposed? To vote.
Make a motion to receive 8D, please.
You've heard the motion. All in favor and opposed? To vote.
Do we need to set up a transfer, Tim? No.
We need to, for 8E, F, G,
All of those to motion to receive and set up a special.
What are we setting up?
we're setting a special permit for the special permit hearing for transfer of...
So that was 8E, 8F, 8G, 8H,
E, F, G, H, I.
8J.
Mr. President.
We
Not
want them, this is for transfer special permit, we do want them to come.
No, they don't come before us. Do they, Timmy? Approval, no paper, all papers being in order, right?
I think, Mr. President, if I might, I think I don't think there is no requirement for a public hearing and a transfer. We have the ability to process the transfer, but there's nothing precluding you from requesting them to appear. It doesn't need to be in the forum of a public hearing.
Yeah, I'd like to set up a public hearing and find out, just when we did the billboard that was transferred from, in Council Turco's ward, they came before us. Was there a special reason why we did that, Council Turco, or?
Through you to, Mr. President, yeah, there was a maintenance issue that we wanted to address, which is why we had them come before the council. So if you have a particular issue you'd like to address with that billboard company, then I guess you could do it in the public hearing.
If someone can help me out, the one at 1 Rear Newberry Street, is that the one that abuts behind the Peabody office building that abuts Route 128? It's late, I'm tired here. Is that correct? Is that billboard that they? So I definitely want them. As a matter of fact, we have on the agenda a show cause hearing. I believe that Councilor Ian Manning Martin made a motion at the last meeting.
Then
Councilor
have them all
McGinn
come
and-
in. Have them all come in.
Yeah, just, Mr. President, just to be clear, I'm just suggesting that you not use the terminology public hearing, because if you do that, then it triggers notice and everything else. So I think what you're asking for is for them to appear
Before the council.
before the council. So, I mean, I think probably the motion you might want is to defer these matters to a subsequent meeting at which the petitioner will present or attend.
Councilor Gould and Council Turco?
I'm all set, thank you.
Mr. President, yes, thank you, Councilman McGinn. That was not a public hearing. That the gentleman from Total Outdoor, as well as Eye on the Ball, came specifically to address the council for the special permit transfer at their own wish to do so. Thank you.
Council Walsh.
Thanks, Mr. President. Just very quickly, is there any time frame on this? Are we messing things up by delaying this?
I don't believe so, Counselor. It's just a request to transfer a special permit. I don't think there's a time requirement. It's not a special permit, an application, but I don't know.
Councilor McGinn, could you make the motion?
Yeah, I will make that motion, but I would agree with the clerk's interpretation. I don't think we're at risk of any constructive approval based on timing. So, if you'd allow me to batch these in the interest of time, Mr. President, do we already have I'm sorry, do we have a motion out there, or have you? I'm sorry, so do we need to allow Council?
What's the motion on the floor, please?
Was to bring him in for a hearing, not a, excuse me? For a meeting, excuse me, not a hearing.
Yeah, for a meeting.
For a meeting.
They're transferring ownership. If you read it, they're transferring ownership.
Do we want to go legal affairs subcommittee or just regular council?
We're within our,
Parameters.
it's appropriately before us tonight. We could act on this tonight as in this outside of committee. We don't need to refer this to committee, in my opinion. I think the appropriate or the suggested move would be to refer these matters to a subsequent meeting, and at such meeting to have the petitioner present. That would be what I would suggest.
Council Gould, you okay with that change? Thank you. You've heard the motion made by Council McGinn. All in favor? Any opposed to vote?
Make a motion to receive item 8L and set up a public, special permit public hearing.
Thank you, Council Gould. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote?
8O, make a motion to set up receive and set up a public hearing. So moved.
And was a letter of opposition.
Yes.
We'll just refer that to the public hearing.
Motion. The motion, that's motion received. Item 8M also, refer to a public hearing. Motion, and also 8P, I think we did accept that during the public hearing, but, okay. 8O, please, somebody? That's one you just did, I apologize, Council Gould. You've heard the motion, all in favor, opposed, to vote. And down to block
Set up
parties.
Block parties, 7 American Lane, August 26, 2017, 16 Upham Street to 21 Upham Street, July 1st, 2017, and Glen Drive, 5 to 8 p.m., July 15th, 2017. Approval, all papers being in order.
Motion, all in favor? Any opposed, vote.
Approval of taxi driver's limousine license, Michael and AC, license 6. Approve all papers being in order. And junk dealer's license, Ginger's Closet, Consignment Shop, 101 Lynn Street, and Elite Design and Consign, 101 Lynn Street. Approve all papers being in order.
With the motion,
adjourned.
Council Gould, all in favor, any opposed, to vote.
Motion adjourned.
There's a
Two late
couple of late,
communication. Council McGinn.
Under suspension of the rules, move to receive late communication from the Department of Public Services dated June 1st, 2017, for the application for a contractor utility license, and approve all papers being in order.
For the motion, all in favor, opposed, to vote. One more late communication.
Move to receive an email dated Monday, June 19th, 2017, from John Bonsall to Tim Spanos. So moved. Does this refer someplace, Tim?
They're asking for the council to enter into a lease agreement to do some utility works by Maritime Pipeline. I think it's in Ward 6. I think you may want to refer it to Legal Affairs, and maybe they can meet on it at the next meeting. I don't know. Or some subcommittee. I won't say which one.
I would receive and refer such communication to Legal Affairs. So moved.
You heard the motion, all in favor, opposed, to vote. And once again, all wards have their July 4th parties. Ward 1, Radden Park. Ward 5, Lieutenant Ross Park. Ward 6, Symphony Park. 9 to 12 across the city. Motion to adjourn.